Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Knowledge at Noon program. I'm Jenna Harris, the Education Manager for Yolo Arts. Just a reminder, please mute your microphone and video so that we can ensure a smooth streaming experience for all. Knowledge at Noon is a free monthly speaker series featuring artists, historians, and agriculture professionals that explore themes central to Yolo Arts and Yolo County Historical Collection exhibitions at the Gibson House and Property. Before we get started today, I do have a few announcements. The Barn Gallery exhibition, Memories of a New Future, closes this week, so be sure to stop by and check it out before it does. The gallery will be open tomorrow, Thursday, from 4:30 to 7 p.m., and this Saturday, the 14th, from 12:30 to 3 p.m. Also open tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 to 7, are the latest displays on view at the Gibson House. We have a new farmhouse exhibit, and the east and west parlors have been updated to reflect two distinct periods and styles, welcoming visitors into the world of the Gibson family as it would have been during the 1880s. During your visit, please be sure to wear a mask and practice social distancing. Finally, thank you to our Yolo Arts membership contributions that make programming like Knowledge at Noon possible. To become a member, visit our website at yoloarts.org/give to learn what level of membership might be right for you. Now back to Knowledge at Noon. Today's talk will be given by Ann Evans and Georgeanne Brennan. I will be hosting a moderated Q&A at the end of our presentation. To submit a question, please click the chat icon at the bottom of your computer screen, or if you're joining us by phone, click More and then Chat. During the presentation, I will monitor your questions and compile them to discuss with our speakers at the end. Welcome to our speakers today, Ann Evans and Georgeanne Brennan. For more than 40 years, Ann Evans, former mayor and Citizen of the Year of Davis, California, has helped to bring healthful eating to an ever-growing audience through her work with local and state governments and nonprofit organizations. Among her many accomplishments is the co-founding of 3 regional food mainstays: Davis Farm to School, one of the first farm-to-school programs in the country, the Davis Food Co-op, and the award-winning Davis Food Farmers Market. A food writer, recipe developer, and illustrator, Ann co-authored the Davis Farmers Market Cookbook and Cooking with California Food in K-12 Schools. The latter is one of several books she has written as part of her more than 20-year-long crusade to implement food sustainability in school lunch programs. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in Consumer Food Science from UC Davis and was named the 2012 Alumna of the Year by its College of Agricultural and Environmental Science. She currently serves as an advisor to the university's Honey and Pollination Center of the Robert Mondavi Institute for Wine and Food Science. Ann's food influences stem from her international travels, her childhood summers in Chapel Hill and Durham, North Carolina, her many adult summers in Provence, and her Northern England family heritage, and a lifetime in Northern California. A master gardener, she lives in Davis, surrounded by a carefully tended, edible landscape where she also keeps bees and chickens. If you want to learn more, be sure to visit her website at annmevans.com. Georgeanne Brennan, author, educator, and journalist, has been engaged in food, travel, and teaching since the 1970s. Her accomplishments range from being named Teacher of the Year in Solano County in 1974 to co-founding Marche Seeds International in the early 1980s to establishing and running a culinary vocation program in Provence, France, where she once raised goats and made and sold goat cheese. Marche Seeds was one of the earliest seed companies to import European heirloom varieties for sale to emerging organic market growers nationwide, as well as selling retail to consumers through the company's iconic illustrated catalogs. In her book, California Food, Joyce Goldstein credits La Marche with having been a key component in the California food movement. Georgeanne is the award-winning author of more than 30 cookbooks. Among her awards are the James Beard Award for her book, The Food and Flavors of Haute-Provence, in the Best International Cookbook category, and the International Association of Culinary Professionals for her book, Aperitif, in the Best Book on Wine and Spirits category. She also authored the Green Eggs and Ham Cookbook and the best-selling food memoir, A Pig in Provence. Her most recent cookbook is La Vie Rustique, Cooking and Living in the French Style. She has authored numerous cookbooks for Williams-Sonoma, including Salad 365 Days of the Year. Along with Anne, Georgeanne worked with Davis Farm to School, the Center for Eco-Literacy, and other organizations working to assist food service programs through California to achieve their goals of improving school lunch programs. Georgeanne received her BA in History from San Diego State College, now University, and her MA in History from the University of California, San Diego. She lives in Winters and travels frequently on assignment to Europe. She is currently working on a mystery novel, her first. Welcome so much, Anne and Georgeanne. We are so honored to have you today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great, Jenna, thank you. Special thanks to Jenna Harris for running the show. And a special thanks also to Janice Purnell, Yolo Arts Creative Director, for inviting us to speak on Yolo food, wine, and agriculture. So Yolo County is really fairly well known now for its food, wine, and agriculture, but we want to take you back about 17 years ago, the fall of 2003. There were pretty well established pioneering organic farms that were selling to the Bay Area, so it was known throughout the San Francisco Bay Area restaurants, but the olive oil, the wines, and various other aspects weren't known so much. And Georgeanne and I were each working on food in our various different ways. Our worlds collided really when Georgeanne asked if I'd be interested in co-authoring a piece she was writing for the San Francisco Chronicle on Yolo County food, wine, and agriculture. And that was a big surprise.
Well, it was so wonderful to work with Anne on this project. It was our first joint venture together, the first of many. And as we explored all over Yolo County, discovering and writing about the restaurants, the farmers, the new wineries, we had no idea that our story would in fact be the cover story of the San Francisco Chronicle magazine. And so many describers in and around Yolo County opened up their Sunday paper to see Yolo flashed across the screen. And we got so many calls and so many emails. Most of the people were really excited about it and proud to see their county featured in San Francisco. But we did have a few comments that said, no, we want to keep this a secret. We don't want to be the next Napa.
That's right. And one of the people that really liked the article, though, was Yolo County's then agricultural commissioner, Rick Landon. And he invited us to put together a proposal that would create some publicity outside of the region and inside of the region for food, wine, and agriculture. We had, you can see here, the living in Yolo is like living in Provence without the 3-hour lunches. Well, Georgeanne and I then went on to create the Village Feast, which was the first 3-hour lunch in Yolo County, and Rick Landon had attended it, and I think that's where he got the idea we could do this throughout the county. And we then developed the Yolo Agricultural Marketing Initiative. It was funded for 3 years, and we directed it through our consulting firm we then developed called Evans Brennan. So, you know, we didn't invent agriculture. Of course, it's been a mainstay of the county's economy for generations. And just to give you an idea, in 2019, of course, there was a little bit under $800 million in farm gate receipts. So it's a big economic generator for the county. So it was natural, though, in addition to looking for international buyers, that the ag commissioner would say, let's really, you know, help boost some local buyers as well. And that's exactly what the Yolo Agricultural Marketing Initiative did.
We began our work by exploring southwest to Winters and the Berryessa Hills, north to Esparto, and County Road 1. As you can see, those are the main roads there on the map, but there are lots of small ones too. We drove all over all the back roads. We went from Sacramento down into the Delta to the Clarksburg area, which you would see just south of West Sacramento, Sacramento. It's not included on this map. And we went to up to the Dunnigan Hills, the Capay Valley, and everywhere we went, we stopped to eat at just about any place we could find. In the Delta, we ate at Shorty's La Amistad Cafe with homemade tortillas, specials like pork mole, chile relleno, chile colorado. And as we were eating our tacos, we could see in the distance, you know, people getting ready for the duck hunting and fields along the levees. From Clarksburg, we could actually see Mount Diablo. We drove along the bayous with their cattails and old oak trees dripping with moss, kind of like the low country. We stopped at Wilson Winery, which was something new for us. We weren't aware of it then. And also the newly developed sugar mill, home to several wine tasting rooms. I think today there are a total of 15 different wineries represented at the old sugar mill. But at that time, Clarksburg was the only area at the time that had its own wine appellation other than Yolo County appellation. I think Ann will speak more about that a little bit later. On County Road 1, also called County Line Road, was just full of almond and walnut orchards as far as you can see, rice country, but there was also, we discovered, a pocket of pomegranate orchards. Almonds are today the county's #1 crop with a gross value of over $150 million. And there's so many new plantings now, many more than when we were doing our discovery trips.
So you can see 505 on the map that's in front of you. We went all up into the Dunnigan Hills and in and around Esparto. We got lost a lot of times, but we just wanted to just relay this to you to give you a sense and really to encourage you to get out there and explore the back ways of all of these different areas in Yolo County. What we were looking for was the components that would make up a story about Yolo County agriculture so that we could tell that wherever we went, mostly outside the county, but inside the county as well. And in part, we were looking through eyes that both of us had traveled with in Europe, especially in France, that had really looked at terroir. And this is the French term of the contribution of a distinctive feature to the way food and wine taste. And that's what we wanted to do. That's what we saw in Yolo County. We saw the promise, the vision. We saw what a lot of others were seeing, and we gave words to it for the greater public. So, of course, we know that there's multi-generation farm families that have done such a great job with the commodity crops in Yolo County over the years, the processing tomatoes, the wheats, the tree crops, like apricots, almonds, and walnuts. And we've already mentioned the organic farmers at the time. This is what we're seeing. There were 102 organic farms. There are now today. And 15 olive oil producers. This is what we saw as we drove around. And Georgeanne was looking in particular at the different kinds of crops that she had sold the seed for to many of the farmers in her company, Marche Seeds.
Yes, when we started Marche and importing seeds from primarily from France and Italy, but also from England and from Germany, the organic farmers were really looking for something new that they could grow for their restaurant customers. You know, everybody was excited about new things and new tastes. And so I was really proud to have been a part of Marche Seeds with my partner, Charlotte Glenn. And we met so many of the farmers, and they would call us up and say, "Hey, Georgeanne, what's new? Got anything new?" And one of the things I remember well say, "Yes, I was just in Italy and I saw this kale. It has like these dark green leaves, kind of grayish green, and it almost looks like a palm tree when it gets really tall. It's called lacinato kale." And so we were the first to import the seed for lacinato kale, which variously was named dino kale and black cabbage. And then, of course, we know now kale is omnipresent everywhere. And as it should be. So as we, part of as we drove around the county talking and thinking and looking, we were thinking, who are the natural partners for a project such as the Yolo County Marketing Initiative? We knew the small farms would be one, but we wanted to look outside the county too. In other words, to have eyes looking from outside inward at the county. And we came up with the idea of approaching COPIA, which was had been newly established in downtown Napa on the river. And we had seen that they had done a weekend of Mendocino County, a weekend of Napa County, a weekend of Sonoma County. And we thought, well, why not a weekend of Yolo County? And I did know, have a couple of connections there. So Ann and I armed ourselves with our story and our rationale and proposals and made an appointment. And the director loved the idea. They gave us a weekend in July, Saturday, Sunday, July 28 and 29. And Ann and I developed a program featuring featuring the wineries, the culture, the history, the story, the restaurants of Yolo County. And it was, well, great fun. And I think one of the most fun things was the soil bar. Ann, do you want to tell us about the soil bar?
Sure. Yeah, everything we did, we tried to really embed with one of the county's most natural assets, which was the University of California, Davis. We really wanted to make sure we were giving people content and grounding the story that we were learning about Yolo County really with some science. And so we approached David Smart, who had a joint appointment between soil science and viticulture and enology. And he, with this idea of let's taste the terroir, we're trying to establish this concept of terroir in Yolo County. And so he went out and got the actual soil samples from various wineries in the different regions in the county. And in his presentation, he started with an overview of soils from around the world's best wine regions and concluded with a view of the soils in our county. And then we actually tasted these samples of soil and then of course tasted the wines that were from the wine grapes that were grown in the soil. So that was a brand new experience for people as well. And then we did have a panel of 4 winemakers talking about the various terroirs, locations where they were growing for very different aspects of the geography of Yolo County. And so that was quite interesting too. Yolo County really was one of the pioneers in the Geogeanne family in the warm weather viticulture with nighttime harvesting of Chardonnay grapes and so on. So that was all covered. And we wanted people really to taste the wine with cheese, right? That's what everybody loves. So Georgeanne, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, but we wanted to really narrow it down. Everybody thinks, oh, wine and cheese, red wine with cheese. But so many of the world's cheeses, particularly the French cheeses, are better paired with white wines. And so we engaged Anya Fernald, who was with the California Association of Family Farmers at the time, who was also a certified cheese taster trained in Italy, plus being beautiful and charming. So Anya led this pairing of the white wines specifically with the cheese, which was incredibly popular presentation. And then we brought in Melanie Bajakian-Pickrell, co-owner of the Buckhorn and in Winters and Pewter Creek Cafe, who is a great cook. And she led a cooking demonstration in COPIA's amphitheater titled Skewered, Ground, and Seared, Cooking with Yolo's Pastured Beef and Pork. And we had all, of course, she cooked and samples were passed around and wine was poured. In fact, the whole weekend was really celebratory. 15 wineries participated, and we're proud to say that our media sponsor was none other than the Wine Spectator.
So another partner we had, certainly for that event and for other events, was Slow Food Yolo. Slow Food was an international movement at the time. And with them, we were very proud to kind of move it around the county and showcase different cities in the county. And so one was outside of Winters. We worked with Berryessa Gap to have a paella party. That's now in its 13th year, and they have done a magnificent job. Corinne Martinez and Nicole Salengo and others have really worked hard to make that a success. We went up to the Durst Farms and let everybody, well, Jim and Deborah were kind enough to let everybody walk around and actually harvest some asparagus. If you haven't done that, it's quite, you know, it's a different, interesting experience. And they were able to just really be with the farmer and say, well, what are some of your maybe farm labor problems or challenges, and what's happening with farm labor housing? And when you say organic, you know, who's buying your produce and so on. So of course we had a big barbecue afterward with some fresh grilled lamb, which is so good in Yolo County, and various other events with Slow Food Yolo. But in general, we tried always to partner with the wineries because they were, we felt, just sort of the biggest story that needed to be told in the events and promotions. So it just wasn't true at the time, but I wanted to say that wine grapes now are #2 in terms of Yolo County's crops. Yolo County puts out, as every county does, a crop report every year with the top 20 crops. And so we can see that the gross value is over 100 million now of wine grapes. And at the time, we helped the Yolo County redesign its crop report, which, you know, met the requirement, but wasn't very, we thought, public relations oriented for Yolo County agriculture. And so we looked at every county's crop report, especially those where the wineries were so significant economically, in Monterey County, in Napa County, Sonoma County. And we learned that all of them were showing the amount of agricultural value by variety. And so that's what we began to do. And so you can see with this chart, which is just from the most recent crop report, that there are 9 varieties of red wine grapes grown, about 9 varieties of white wine grapes, Petite Syrah, which of course Patty Bogle helped to champion so much down out of Clarksburg, out of Bogle Winery, is the top red. And the Clarksburg area is so well known for that. And Chardonnay is the top white, grown, and R.H. Phillips Matchbook now really helped pioneer that as well in the Dunnigan Hills. So what we did with the wineries, we brought them all together for the very first time. We actually visited, I know it's a hard work, but we visited every single winery in Yolo County. And we brought them together at UC Davis in a one-day meeting. First time they had ever all met. And it was in conjunction with Dr. Andy Waterhouse, the Department of Viticulture and Enology. And so that became the first time that we talked about the idea of an association. And happy to say that 10 of the wineries did self-organize into an association, which is now run by Jenny Meadows Smith of Great Bear Winery, just outside of Davis, which if you haven't visited, it's lovely. So she's head of that association now, and making sure that association is that the wines in general have publicity, that they're in all the local markets, and you can find them. Lorenzo's Market in Winters, Davis Food Co-op frequently has a display of local wines, nugget markets. So they're really very easy to find, and we encourage you during these COVID times to go ahead and, you know, experiment. Go visit some of these wineries and experiment with their wines. Well, we went on to do a Yolo Wine Month in June. We had quite a few wineries participating. We worked with Yolo County. They now, Visit Yolo has a wine brochure listing 18 of the wineries. And at this time, as Georgeanne mentioned, at that time there was only Clarksburg with its own special designation called AVA. And now there are more. So we have 4 in Yolo County, including in the Dunnigan Hills and Cape Valley. So this is quite exciting. So there's 5 total in Yolo County when you consider the county. So, and there's some great great ways in which each of those descriptions specifically, they have to by law describe the terroir and how it relates to the very special taste that their wine has. So we moved on, though. We didn't stay with wine forever, right, Georgeanne? We moved on to another special crop.
Well, we always included it, but we decided to do something kind of, well, that had never been done before, and partner with Cape Valley Organics, Farm Fresh to You, major growers of heirloom tomatoes. And there was a lot of discussion at the time. Oh, well, those heirloom tomatoes, I don't know if they're really worth the money, and how different are they anyway? So we decided to see if we could possibly put on the first ever sensory evaluation, treating it scientifically, sensory evaluation of heirloom tomatoes. And as Anne has said earlier, we always sought to, whenever possible, to ground things in science and take advantage of the expertise at UC Davis. So I finally got up my nerve and contacted Ann Noble, who was a professor emerita at UC Davis viticulture, and best known, in fact, famous for developing the wine aroma wheel. I remember standing in her kitchen, loaded down with baskets of heirloom tomatoes for a practice run through for her to decide really whether there was anything to the concept of a sensory evaluation of heirloom tomatoes. She decided that there was, and we went on ahead to put on this event, which was a formal evaluation. You can see in the photo here, the tomatoes were in wine glasses, and they were covered and shaken, sniffed, tasted just as you would wine, all led by Ann Noble. I thought, well, it won't hurt to try, but I sent something to a vague contact I had at the New York Times that this was a major scoop, the first ever sensory evaluation of heirloom tomatoes. They sent out a photographer and a journalist to cover the event. So we were pretty happy to see Yolo celebrated in the New York Times in their dining and wine section. And we went on from that, again with this concept of from outside the county looking in, getting people to know. And particularly, Anne has a working relationship over many years with Alice Waters at Chez Panisse. So we contacted Chez Panisse and discussed having a special dinner celebrating the farms and winemakers of Yolo County. It was open to the public. There were multiple seatings, which were sold out. And the wines were paired with the produce, the vegetables, the fruits, and meats from Yolo County. For example, there was a pork rillette with fresh pickled cucumbers and cherry tomatoes paired with a Carvalho Rosé of Pinot Noir from Clarksburg. And we had help with these pairings, are suggested, with the chefs and experts, wine experts in Yolo County, working with, of course, the amazing staff at the Chez Panisse. And the dinner closed with an apricot tart with toasted almond ice cream, paired with a 2007 Cape Valley Vineyards late harvest Viognier. And we were so pleased with that choice because apricots are such a wonderful historic crop in Yolo, and to some extent are coming back, at least on a small scale.
I'm getting hungry. I don't know about the rest of you.
I know, it's time, isn't it?
There's just such beautiful pairings of these wines to really showcase them and how hard these winemakers have been working to get the very best from Yolo County. So we just wanted to mention briefly, though, that if you think back 17 years, it was commonplace in Europe to have events that brought a whole community together, but not really the United States. And so we did begin to set up communal meals to bring people together around one large table for these celebrations of different aspects of Yolo County's food and wine. and to serve family style. That was kind of one of the very new things at that point. And early on, Georgeanne and I and other people, I think Lane Jagier and Rachel Levine, others just had to really scour our own pantries, find all of our platters and bring them to these events because the caterers didn't have them. And now Buckhorn Catering, which had catered a lot of the events we did there, so good at working with every kind of food and lamb in particular. They have platters for any kind of occasion, and it's become rather commonplace. So we're very, very happy to see that. And after these COVID times, we know that those kind of communal meals like dinner on Main and Woodland and others will really come back. But there's some newer ones too that you wrote about recently, right, Georgeanne, for San Jose Mercury?
Right. Just last year, I wrote a feature for the Bay Area News Group, which is headed by the San Jose Mercury, about 5, just call them pop-ups because they are, either a short season or once in a while. And one of them, of course, as you just mentioned, was Dinner on Main, long table down the whole street, seating 500 people, an annual event. The Village Feast in Davis, again, an annual event, and both of those are fundraisers. And then there was Pewter Creek Cafe last year, started doing, I believe it was Tuesday night dinners, and they ran one long table the length of Railroad Avenue, and it was often they were lit by candlelight, and then you have the sparkling light. So these really, beautiful, but kind of not your normal brick and mortar restaurant experience with just a fixed menu and wine pairings, all for one price. And then one of the newest ones, of course, is Park Winters, which has their farm experience, which has had several different iterations, and currently now has Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can start reserving at noon and all the way through dinner with a family style platters served either inside or outside, and plenty of wine is at your choice, or you can bring your own. So that was fun to discover that just last year these were ongoing. And of course, perhaps the granddaddy of them all is the Yolo County Land Trust, which started, I don't know, Anne will know how many years ago, but they started
30 or so, huh? 25.
They started by bringing in chefs from the greater Bay Area along with the wine. But I think now a lot of the chefs are local because we have so much here now. And then we had to, another UC Davis partner, which seemed logical in terms of food, was UC Davis Food Service, which at the time was Sodexo. And we did a Taste of Yolo, as you can see here, Taste of Yolo, and that cute card designed by the Sodexo team. We brought together organic farmers, and actually any farmers, large and small, who wanted to participate with, of course, the wineries, and where they set up stalls, almost like a farmer's market in one of the dining halls at UC Davis. And then buyers, not just restaurant buyers, but also institutional buyers who would buy in larger quantities, came and visited had an opportunity to talk with the farmers, to discuss what they were growing, what kind of quantities they could grow. And that was followed by a reception with appetizers made of Yolo County fruits and vegetables and wines. And then everyone, the vendors and the farmers, sat down again at a long table for a meal prepared by the executive chef, Andy Burtis. It was such a success that we went ahead and did it again. We did a Taste of Yolo too. Again, these kids and the tomatoes is pretty irresistible. So then again, we use the same format, and at Taste of Yolo 2, the program included the chancellor, Larry Vanderhoff, welcoming everyone. Dale Cordy of Cordy Brothers offering a toast, and Rick Landon, the agricultural commissioner at the time, spoke, as did Rachel Levine, executive chef of Nugget Market, and Jody Bogle of the Bogle Winery. So it was a really a collection of people intensely interested in the food and the wine and the camaraderie of Yolo County, all celebrated at UC Davis.
That's right. It was a celebration as well as economic connections. And I think that's what we found in Europe so much that we wanted to bring to Yolo County a little bit more, is just that concept of just celebrating and developing relationships around food and wine that would lead then to economic activity. So we want to make sure we leave time for your questions. And so we're going to skip over a few things quickly here, but we want to make sure we focus on olives, because olive oil also has terroir, as does wine. In 2003, when we began this work, of course, olives weren't even yet listed in the annual crop report. Olive oil entered as number 20 in 2012 and was number 12 by 2015. So by 2019, just to give you a sense of how things are growing, and if you get out and around these back roads of Yolo County, you'll really see the olive orchards. There were 5,000 acres planted to olives in 2019 because we had some major olive oil processing facilities come in. Cobham Estates, which is Boundary Bend, located in Woodland, and California Olive Ranch started contracting with a lot of the Yolo growers and so on. This coincided with, in 2008, UC Davis Olive Center, starting with Dan Flynn and others. They were hoping to do for olive oil statewide in California what UC Davis had done through viticulture and enology for wine. And I think they've really accomplished it, don't you, Georgeanne? Why don't you tell them a little bit quickly about what we did with Dan Flynn to showcase the Yolo oils?
Yes, I do think they have accomplished it. I mean, California olive oil is really on the map everywhere and respected worldwide. And from many producers has won loads of gold medals. But once again, we wanted to bring together the connection of the food, the wine, and the place. And what better place than the 150-year-old alleyway of olive trees planted in Wolfskill, just outside of Winters. There's a photo of these trees, 150 years old, with a small road going between the lane of trees. So we set out, once again, the long tables down the center and did a 4-course meal. And Dan Flynn, the director of the Olive Oil Center, invited notables from outside the county, as well as many people. It was open to the public. And with the first ever, right, Anne, tasting of just Yolo County's olive oils.
That's right. We even had Daryl Cordy. We even had him do actually a traditional Italian blessing of the olive trees. It was quite fun. But I wanted to say, we did get some new olive processing, some mills in the county, as I mentioned, Bondolio in between Winters and Davis, and Seca Hills Olive Mill. And Seca Hills is now featured in a tour that Heather Fortes is doing, taking you right up into Capay Valley. She runs Sacktown Bites. She puts together every month really interesting boxes that always include lots of Yolo County specialty products. It's included the Davis Farmers Market Cookbook before, but she's doing a great job. You might contact that Sacktown Bites and just see if you're interested in visiting some farms, some olive processing mills. I think she takes you to some lavender distillation and some fun things. I'll just briefly mention, we also partnered with UC Davis Honey and Pollination Center, developed for them a midwinter beekeeper's feast, and honey itself has become a fairly large product, and it's in the crop report as well for Yolo County. And of course, Amina Harris, who directs that center, went on to develop in Woodland an entire California Honey Festival. So that's been very exciting. But there's another crop that a lot of people associate with Yolo County, right, Georgeanne? It's processing tomatoes. A little less exciting in a certain way, but we all use it a lot more.
Right. We had a little bit of the ag commissioner at that time, Rick Landon, asked us if there was something we could do around processing tomatoes. And we had a little bit of a hard time with some of the organic farmers who thought, well, this isn't right. We don't want those, processing tomatoes. But, in the end, everyone kind of came together and we put on an event. We called it the Big Tomato in March in Davis at the farmers at the Central Park in Davis. We had a big tent, and beneath the tent there were stands set up. There were chefs both from Yolo County and from the Bay Area that were cooking with the processing tomatoes, all kinds of delicious food. We had tables set up for coloring for children. There were demonstrations. There were tables. There was a ongoing video showing how the tomatoes are planted, harvested, and eventually processed. And we did this in March, as I said, because that's when the tomato seedlings are typically planted across the county. And we were fortunate. We had statewide sponsors such as the California League of Food Processors, California Tomato Growers Association, and the Marketing Board. And they donated all kinds of cans, beautiful cans of all different kinds of tomatoes. So we were able to make some pretty spectacular displays. Over 1,000 people came in addition to the usual crowd of thousands at the Davis Farmers Market.
Right.
And as
just a way to create some fun and some awareness of this little green fuzz that was all across the county. If you go out in March, there's always, right, Georgeanne? I think you named it, the little green fuzz of the, that's what's on growers' mind. Their mind is on tomatoes in March, whereas, most home gardeners are thinking about it in a little bit later. And so we wanted to just mention, of course, a special shout out to the Davis Farmers Market and Randy McNear. They've been such a great partner all along. And we did we wanted to bring some more chefs into that market. Randy thought that would look great to have some chefs in there, chef whites walking down the aisles, and just a little bit more direct connection, maybe some wholesale accounts for some of her vendors there. And so we did create a chef's walk, and we brought, of course, together all the regional chefs, as well as we invited school food service chefs, and they were able to purchase some chef whites just for the occasion, and really feel special as they are. They're the ones interacting with our kids every day, introducing them to food. Well, Davis Farmers Market is beloved by all, right? It's really America's favorite farmers market, and it officially deserved that title and won it at a certain point. And so to celebrate it even farther, we worked with Randy and came up with the idea of a Davis Farmers Market cookbook, which is now in its second edition and has, I think, over 10,000 copies sold. So we've been really happy with them as a partner, but we thought we'd end with, because we really want to hear your questions, a little bit of work that we did, that we actually partnered with the Yolo Arts Commission.
And we, so we worked with on California specialty crops, which essentially is everything that you eat. It's all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the nuts, from tomatoes to peppers to carrots, celery, apricots, peaches, everything for the entire state of California. Avocados, of course, from the South. And Anne and I developed recipes specifically to be used in the school lunch program statewide. We practiced these recipes from LA to, gosh, how far north did we go? Humboldt? In different
Del Norte County, actually.
Yeah. With in different school kitchens, working with the school lunch staff. So when it came time to put the book together, that would be handed out to every school food service in the state, we partnered with Yolo Arts for the illustrations. And Danielle Whitmore, who was then the director of Yolo Arts, went through with her staff different possibilities, from photos of sculptures and there were tractors. So it really grounded the agriculture in the art, which we thought was pretty special.
Right, and of course, about 10,000 copies, electronic copies, went out throughout the state. but we wanted to close with just a sense that we hope you've enjoyed kind of going back 17, 18, 19 years. We hope you'll enjoy taking a look at Yolo's back roads. We hope we've inspired you to do that. We are so proud of each and every farmer, winemaker, wine grape grower, olive oil producer that are really the chefs, the retailers making Yolo food, wine, and agriculture come alive. And each of the cities also have stepped up. We have Winter's so well known nationally, featured in Sunset magazine for its very, very special wineries and its cafes. Gosh, there's a picture of Juan Barajas, who's with Savory Cafe in Woodland and helped start the Dinner on Main. And Woodland, of course, has the Food Front initiative that has done so well and brought a lot of food processing plants. Davis launched a food and economic development in Davis report. It's trying to bring in some more food trucks, but it's got a great array of Asian restaurants from all over that are very authentic, that are some of the best collection of Asian restaurants in the region. And of course, West Sacramento has a plan to become a food hub, and that's where Cape Valley's Farm Fresh to You, which if you think back to the Heirloom Tomato tasting, that's where that was. They're located there as an early major anchor to that hub concept, because they're the largest CSA in the country. So every school district in the county has a farm to school program. The county's agriculture farm gate receipts continue to grow. We didn't talk about beer, but of course we have 4 craft beer places now that weren't there then. Preserve in Winters is kind of heralding a new type of cafe that both processes food and serves it. And Seca Hills with their tasting room has just been such a hit if you travel up 16 in the Cape Valley. So I guess we'll end to hear your questions and just say, I know Georgeanne and I are both so encouraged. We just say, enjoy the food, wine, and agriculture here. We couldn't be more lucky than to live in Yolo County.
Thank you so much, Anne and Georgeanne. I know myself, I'm absolutely starving after this and ready to go explore and eat everything that our bountiful county has to offer. We did receive a few questions already over email that I'd love to share with you now. First came from Cindy. She has been recently working on a cookbook herself and is interested in learning more about the process of finding a publisher and how you guys went about taking your wonderful culinary ideas out into the public.
Anne, how about, I think that, would you like to talk about how we did the Davis Farmers Cookbook?
Sure. Georgeanne had published, as you heard in the intro, had been published a variety of times, and we approached San Francisco Chronicle Books and others that had published her and knew her work very well. The key message from every one of them was, love the book, love the concept, it's regional, you're not going to sell more than about 5,000 copies. So we, in the end, were forced to decide to become our own publishers, which we did. And then through Georgeanne's contacts, we hired an exceptionally professional team. So this book has won awards for self-publishing because it doesn't look like your typical self-published book, and it isn't. It has the top people in cookbook publishing that worked on it as contractors with us. And we learned how to be publishers and did it. And we did, for the second book, we had it printed in China and learned how to be importers. And, you know, it was really, I guess I would say fairly easy, but an enormous amount of work. Anyway, I'm happy to talk with somebody offline anytime about it. It was extraordinarily rewarding. As they say, and I will say that it's really not about getting your book published, though. It's all about the marketing. And you think of the recipes as the major piece of work, and we had a fantastic food photographer who came to the Davis Farmers Market each season and went out onto the farms. And he was so good. And we had Evans Brennan, a professional food stylist, working with us and so forth. But in the end, it's all about the marketing. And so that's your biggest hurdle.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure that's very helpful. We had another emailed in question, and just a reminder to all of our participants, please submit your questions via the chat feature. There should be a chat icon on the bottom of your screen, or if you're joining us by cell phone, go ahead and click more and then chat. I do have a question here from Beth. She noted that you guys were mentioning COPIA in your presentation and had attempted to go visit, but it was no longer, she wasn't able to find it. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about COPIA and its trajectory?
Yes.
Yeah,
The grand, shall I go ahead?
yeah.
The grand vision of COPIA, to bringing the food and art and culture together, wasn't able to sustain itself. And so eventually it closed. I don't know all the details of the hows and whys and the finances, but it was closed for a number of years. Their gardens were taken over by different restaurants to keep them going, because they did have extensive, beautiful, edible gardens. And then, maybe 3 years ago, the site, including the gardens and all the buildings, were taken over by the Culinary Institute of America, which also has a campus at Greystone. So COPIA is now a second campus for the CIA. And I don't know how much you can visit. You can certainly visit the gardens, and they do have a restaurant that's open. The food's prepared by the culinary students and is really quite delicious. You would have to check the website to find out about the hours and so forth, but it's a lovely site.
Thank you. This question I'm particularly excited about. What is growing in your own personal gardens now, and what are you excited about growing?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll start and then Georgeanne can finish. Yeah, I've got my Fuyu persimmon tree is loaded, and with this cold snap that we've been getting the last couple of days, I think they're going to be extra sweet. So I'm going to be harvesting them and have such a good crop that I'll be dehydrating them, which I did last year, and then you serve it on a dried fruit tray in the winter. It's just delicious with maybe some almond paste or something. I've just put in kind of my winter crop, so favas, the alliums, the onions, and garlics, and so on. But I'm still even putting a few things out by seed. I just seeded some more kales and other dark leafy greens. I have lettuce that I'm harvesting. My Meyer lemons, I'm sure yours are too, Georgeanne. They're really coming on now. They're great. I have a few kumquats and what else? I think, Georgeanne gave me a few actual edible crocus bulbs a couple years ago, and I've been picking the stamens carefully to have a fun crop like that. But what's in your garden, Georgeanne?
Well, like you, I have a Fuyu tree that is loaded with persimmons, but the birds love them. They think that's their new favorite home. So I can look out the window and it's like, partridge in a pear tree, only as birds in the persimmon tree. I have some pomegranates. I have some lettuce, and believe it or not, I still have a few peppers that escaped the other night's frost. And I have onions that are coming along. The very last of my quince I picked the other day. I have garlic I've just planted, like you, just planted the garlic, fava beans. The birds really almost destroyed my escarole crop, but I've been saving them by covering them up with a shade cloth. So hopefully I'll be harvesting some of that soon. And we're finishing, hopefully this weekend, we'll get the cover on our greenhouse. I have a large greenhouse, and our vision is to plant it with all kinds of wonderful things. We'll cozy up over the winter, safe from the birds.
So I should mention, I don't know if listeners have olive trees. I just harvested my olives, and I don't know if you are with that, Georgeanne. I know you made your own oil before, but I've been making table olives, and so they're in the brine now. That has been very fun. And then a few pomegranates. I'm kind of waiting. Mine haven't become dark red. I don't know why. The tree's only 5 years old, but I'm waiting to to harvest them. But I've been enjoying some neighborhood pomegranate trees. But what a great question. Fall is just such a wonderful time. I don't have walnuts around me. I wish I did. You do, Georgeanne. That's nice. But they're a great fresh walnut crop right now.
Have either of you or combined considered opening a restaurant with all your crops from your gardens?
No.
No. I'm so glad that the Juan Barajas and his brother Toby have their Savory Cafe in Woodland, and people all over do. It's a labor of love. It's so much work, and we're just so grateful to the great chefs and restaurateurs in Yolo County that have done that. We are both very avid home cooks. We just recently got together and corned our own beef and made our own Reuben sandwiches. That was very fun. And we made some Polish dill pickles in a ceramic crock pot that I have, and finished that meal off with some potato salad. It was fun. So we both have fun in the kitchen, and I think to connect that to the agriculture and the beauty of the color in the crops, and that is so artistic. And I know Yolo Arts has their painting around various farms. This is what makes this area such a special place to live. So we hope these holidays you have big bowls of fuyu and pomegranate, and maybe olive branches on your table, maybe some of the toyon from in and around the countryside, making your own wreaths, and just really enjoying the color and the bounty of Yolo County right now.
Excellent, thank you. I know, myself, just wrapping up here, so excited about eating all the food possible and tapping into our local resources here. I do have a question coming in from Lane asking about whether or not this recording will be available for later viewing. So I do want to let everyone know, yes, this talk is being recorded, and it will be available on the Yolo Arts website, which you see listed here, yoloarts.org, and also on the Yolo Arts YouTube page. For more information about our speakers, check out annemevans.com. Also, if you're interested in exploring our beautiful county and all the wonderful wineries and farms that it has to offer, please go to visityolo.com. I do want to say thank you so much to all of you for joining us today, and huge thanks to Anne and Georgeanne. This has absolutely been a beautiful discussion of Yolo County and all of our wonderful crops and food and exploration. So thank you so much for all the work that you have done from our schools to promoting our agriculture here. Thank you for joining us.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And with that, we will go ahead and wrap up today's talk. Again, check out yoloarts.org and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at YoloArtsCA to stay up to date with all of our events. Be sure to stop by the Gibson House and Property on tomorrow, Thursday, from 4:30 to 7, and this Saturday, the Barn Gallery will be open, and so will the Gibson House, so you can see what's been going on here. We look forward to seeing everyone in person soon. Please remember to wear your mask and socially distance. And please join us next month for our next speaker, where we'll be diving into history on, December 9th. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.